He's back, everyone. Welcome to Mondays with Vish. I'm Grant Cohn. That's Vish Kumaran, the star of the show. He's been gone the last few weeks. He had finals and stuff. I heard from sources that he got some good grades. So good for you, Vish. Good to have you back. Good to see you.
Yeah, it's great to be on. Yeah, I had finals and then I had a little bit of a personal situation with my family that I had to take care of. But I'm really happy to be back. It's been a while. I haven't been able to talk about the Niners in a while, and a lot has happened. I feel like the most eventful 4 weeks of this season just happened to be the 4 weeks like I was unable to do this.
And look at how much it aged you. I mean, the last time you were on the show, you were 21. Now you're 30, which is amazing. So, look, we have limited time. Vish is a very busy man, but we have a lot of ground to cover. I have 18 questions for you. And I'm just going to, people say I interrupt you a lot. So I'm just going to ask the question and let you go. And if there's something that I think that you forgot or something, I'll redirect you at some point. But basically,
Awesome.
This is your turn. It's been a long time. And I'm
Let's
sure
go
people are
for
going
it.
to have their own questions as well. So let's get right into it. Vish and I spoke briefly after the game on my ride home, and he brought up an interesting point about what makes the 49ers unique. Vish, lay it down for everyone.
Yeah, so I mean, every offseason, I think NFL Network does it. The players vote on it, but PFF usually comes out with one. ESPN usually comes out with one. There's like a top 100 players in the NFL list, right? And it's positionless. Usually Aaron Donald, Mahomes, Rodgers, Brady. These are like the top four players on each list. Derrick Henry, those type guys. And something I noticed this season, honestly, if you're looking, the Niners have 5 players I would say should be in the top 30 players in the NFL. And I think that's unique because I don't think there's any other team that you can say this for. And I think all 5 players should be all pros this year. I don't know if all 5 will end up being, but they have 5 top 30 players in the NFL. Let me lay them out. It's George Kittle, it's Nick Bosa, it's Deebo Samuel, it's obviously Trent Williams and Fred Warner. That's 5 guys that are within the
Top
30 best
30
players in the football. That's unprecedented.
Yeah.
I
really no other
don't
team that can say that this year, right?
No, I don't. I was thinking about it. Like even the other really good teams, like Kansas City, you can say Hill, Kelsey, Mahomes, Chris Jones. That's 4.
Right.
I wouldn't put anybody else on their team there. Green Bay, it's Rodgers, Devontae Adams. Can't say anybody else right now.
It's true.
Because Jair Alexander's been hurt. Bakhtiari's been hurt. So really nobody else you can say. So you can go down the list. Dallas, you can maybe say Dak Prescott, DeMarcus Lawrence, maybe Micah Parsons, probably.
Yes.
Trayvon Diggs, probably. But again, the Niners have 5 you can say for sure. And I don't think any other team has that argument. Even the Rams, I feel like you can say Ramsey, you can say Cooper Kupp, you can say Aaron Donald, maybe you would say Stafford. But after that, it's a giant question mark. And the Niners are the only team where you can say 5 for sure. I think that's unique. I think that's what makes them special. And I think the most underrated part about this run that they've made over the last 7 games or so is that all 5 of these guys have been more or less healthy. Deebo missed 1 game, but Kittle has been the healthiest he's been in 2 years. Trent Williams has been balling all year. Bosa looks fantastic. In fact, Bosa looks better than he's ever looked in his career, which is crazy because he had a pretty great rookie season and he's coming off an ACL injury. So, I mean, you just look at it like that, and Fred Warner's playing the best he's played all year. Fred Warner might be playing the best.
You're right. But what the one game they lost, they were down 2 of these big 5. We'll call them a big 5. I don't know.
Right.
That's a Fab 5. They didn't have Deebo or Warner, and they lost to a team that hasn't beaten many teams this year. So
exactly.
Yeah. To your point.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they didn't have Kittle earlier this year, and he was slowly getting himself healthy. Right. Bosa was still, even though Bosa was excellent early in the season, he's turned it on to a different level the last 4 or 5 weeks. So you can see there was the expected rust given that he didn't practice an excessive amount and he was coming off an ACL injury. Those 5 guys, to me, when they're healthy, that gives the Niners a chance against anybody. And I've been tweeting that kind of thing. I didn't get to watch last week's game live. I only got to watch it on Tuesday. And I've been like, oh my God, look around the league. Every other team is reeling. This team has their 5 guys healthy, and those 5 guys are as good as any 5 guys in the NFL. Like, man, they got a chance against anybody.
Yeah. So if we're talking about are the 49ers contenders, this is one reason to feel confident or optimistic. The other reason why the path to the Super Bowl is real for the 49ers doesn't have as much to do with the 49ers. We just laid out what they have going for them. But another thing they have going for them is the state of the rest of the league. Break it down.
There's massive question marks across the league. I mean, just look at the NFC, right? Green Bay, I would say, is unequivocally the best team, given the fact that they've been able to win in spite of losing a Zadarius Smith, in spite of losing a Jair Alexander, not having David Bakhtiari, losing an Elton Jenkins, excuse me. They won without Billy Turner yesterday. They're winning without a lot of different guys, and Rodgers is obviously special. The Rodgers-LaFleur combination is special. But some of the issues with Green Bay that they haven't had in the past exist today. Their offensive line is not very good this year. And their offensive line, that's the one consistent they've had around Aaron Rodgers all season. They still do not have, or his entire career, excuse me, in Green Bay, they still do not have a consistent second option away from Devontae Adams. And that becomes an issue. I mean, Devontae Adams is seemingly impossible to take away. But if you're able to pressure Rodgers.
What do you think of MVS?
I don't think much of him, which is why I don't think that.
Well, is he kind of just like a straight liney, gimmicky, big play guy kind of guy?
I think so.
Yeah,
I think so.
Okay.
I don't think they have. Maybe Cobb will become reliable in the playoffs because he's been there before and done it.
But Cobb's 45, so it's tough to say.
And Arizona yesterday showed they're reeling. DeAndre Hopkins is out for the rest of the regular season. They have some issues. The Rams, we've seen the Rams have talent, but they also have issues. And I think the Rams are another team. We have to see some consistency because I think the one change that the Rams have made is that they've gotten away from being empty drop back game reliant the entire time. They've gone to running the football and getting Stafford under center and using their under center play action. We'll see if that continues. 2-game sample size isn't enough to say that they're trending towards that, though they're trending in the right direction. Tampa Bay is injured across the board. They didn't have their secondary for the first half of this year. They're still missing Antoine Winfield Jr., and then they lost Godwin for the year. Mike Evans has a hamstring injury. Antonio Brown is faking COVID vaccine cards. Lombardi Lenny, as Skip Bayless calls him, Leonard Fournette is hurt. So Tampa Bay has a set of their own issues.
Yeah.
Dallas, I mean, Dak Prescott has not been the same, though he's been playing well since he came back from injury. Their defense has been playing well, but their defense has also been feasting on the backup quarterbacks of the NFC East. So it's tough to say if they're really, really that good, though Micah Parsons is really, really special. I think nobody can deny that. And DeMarcus Lawrence and Randy Gregory have played well this year. So across the board, really, and we laid out the 5 guys before, the Niners really got a chance against any of these teams because they have those 5 guys playing amazing and playing healthy, and all these other teams are missing their guys. And so, like, I think the biggest issue with the Niners, right, because they're playing today how a lot of people thought they could play from week 1 this season. There's not been a consistency to this Niners football team at all this year, right? You know, they have the 3 great weeks. They beat the Rams, and everybody's all hyped. And they go to Seattle against a reeling Seahawks team, and they beat themselves. And that's been the question mark. But they have 4 games right here that line up pretty favorably. Tennessee, I thought, was a schedule loss before the season. Tennessee will be playing on Thursday without A.J. Brown, Julio Jones, and Derrick Henry. And even though their defense is good and they're a good team, those are 3 huge people. So how do they move the ball against a very good Niners defense? So now that's an opportunity to win. Then you got Houston. You got, these kind of games that you can win. And
then the Rams, who the Niners match up well with. Like, could the Niners really win out? Possible.
Right.
Possible.
Right.
Which was inconceivable, I mean, at least to me, a couple weeks ago.
Right. And that's what I just look at it like that. And I say, if they can finish, and to me, the question is consistency.
Right.
Like, if the Niners go and beat themselves against the Texans or something, then I wouldn't feel this way. But if they can go 3-1 and finish strong, I'm not saying they're going to win the Super Bowl. I'm not saying they're going to the Super Bowl because I still think as a road team, it's difficult to do that.
Yeah.
But I can't make an argument as to why they couldn't.
The biggest difference between this team, though, and the 2019 team, I mean, there's a few differences, but when the Niners lose this year, it's usually like embarrassing and they beat themselves. Like in 2019, when they lost, there was usually no shame in it. They lost by a field goal at the end, right? I mean, like every single time they lost right at the end until the Super Bowl, when that was kind of embarrassing. But you lost to the best team in the league, and that's what Patrick Mahomes, he's done that so many times.
Mistakes happen in every
different.
So apologies. Go ahead. No.
That's all I wanted to say. This team is just a little bit different, and when they lose, it's like, ugh, you lost to Colt McCoy by a lot. Like what?
Yeah,
you know what I mean? What?
Yeah, and the Seahawks game.
You lost to Seattle twice.
Right, and the Seahawks game, it was a string of
Right.
mistakes, right? And that's the
Yeah.
problem. Like 2019, they didn't lose because the Niners just made a string of mistakes. Because a lot of the Niners losses this season, and I think that's what got people so riled up early in the season and so annoyed because it felt like the Niners weren't getting outplayed or they
No.
didn't have as much talent or getting out coached or getting out schemed. It just felt like, oh man, one guy fumbles here, next play somebody else fumbles,
Right.
and you just couldn't make winning football plays. And I think that's what really it. I mean, you could see it. Niners fans were really frustrated. Heck, I was really frustrated as a fan. And so the question is, can they change that? And we've seen now a brief period of time where that has changed. And that Seattle game being right in the middle of these two little win streaks they have is kind of the albatross right here of whether they've changed that fully or not, because that Seattle game felt like a reversion back to what they were for earlier in the season. And I think this 4-game sample size is going to tell us a lot on have they fully fixed it or not. Because with those 5 players that we just named again in the previous segment, they can play with anybody.
Yeah, and like really with those 5 players healthy, there was no way on God's green earth that they were going to lose to Atlanta yesterday.
No.
So something to keep in mind. Let's take a couple questions and get back to the lightning round of that's not really lightning round. Lucky Louise says, Grant, when's your pops going to be on the show? In a while, a few months. We'll see. Slowly but surely. But he's cool. Standout company. Thank you. Jonathan says, do you know why you say 12:30 is freaking 12:40? That was my fault. I was having technical difficulties. But I also wanted to draw out the suspense because it's Vish. It's been a while. Hold on. Jody Moore, who's been on the show, who's been commenting for a long time, is very generous. Thank you, Jody. He says, I love the thoughtful approach of Vish. I am very optimistic about my team based on what you just laid out. That scares me. My fear is if they are successful, they will try to run it back next year. Another year of no Lance and new blood. Is that a fair concern? Well, we're going to talk about that later, but let's talk about it now. Is it a fair concern that this is going to lead to the Revenge Tour 3.0?
No, I don't think you should be concerned about it. And I think the reason you shouldn't be concerned about it is because they've invested way too much in Trey Lance to not move in that direction.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's like, maybe that's why Kyle spent so much. It's like, look, I know everyone here likes Jimmy Garoppolo, but I'm going to do a move that makes it that we have to go to someone else. I'm sorry. Doesn't matter. Maybe that's for the 4D chess Kyle Shanahan was playing. We have to make this move now, and Jed York is on my side too. So I'm with you.
Yeah, because
but we're going to talk about this because I'm not necessarily 100% sure that Jimmy's not coming back next year. He's making an end around like Debo Samuel. He's doing his Debo impression. So anyway, Jody, thank you very much. I appreciate you. Christian says if they can clinch a playoff spot, week 18 should be their own personal bye week, considering this team has been playing for about 2.5 months straight. They also may have another opportunity for a bye week, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. But you may not be thinking about it, but they have a kind of a bye week coming up, sort of.
And
any
bye
shot
week would be ideal.
It would be ideal, and I think I'm into that. It was my idea. I invented the idea of sitting 8 weeks. Any shot Raheem Mostert returns in the postseason? No.
Didn't they say there was a shot he could come back for like the Super Bowl?
Maybe. We'll see. Last time I saw him, I thought he still had something on his leg, but we'll.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll see. Grant frequently provides excuses for his late arrival times, yet does not account for possible time conflicts that affect punctuality. Your fans.
Okay. With this show, I'm usually late. Today was the one exception, but I usually am doing something else, and then I forget about the time, and then I text Grant, oh, shoot, can we go 5 minutes later? And Grant usually changes the time, yeah.
One of the nice things about being your own boss is that you can start your YouTube show 5 minutes late. I'm sorry, Brittany. I really am. I'll do better. Let's get back to the show. We laid out how the path is very real. If the 49ers fall short and miss the Super Bowl, it will be because of blank.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, will throw, the quarterback situation or stuff like that into this answer. But to me, if they fall short and don't miss the Super Bowl, it will be simply because they didn't play good enough football for the first 7 weeks of this season.
I agree. I totally agree.
It's as simple as that. Because in spite all these issues we've laid out, and I know people really, really like ragging on the corners and, starting what was perceived to be your 4th and 5th string corners before the season in week 14 or week 13 is not ideal at all. But, the guys that have played when Yeah, when Norman and Mosley have played, it's been okay for them
Yeah,
at corner. Their defense has been playing quite well overall. D'Amico Ryans has been a find. I know we're going to talk about him. He's
we
been
are.
fantastic. Um, but it'll simply be because they won a lot of winnable. They lost a lot of games that are certainly winnable
Mhm.
given the talent of their roster and the
Yeah,
talent of their coaching staff. And I think it'll be that simple because if you go back and look at a lot of these games at the beginning of the year, right? The Green Bay game, I thought Rodgers did something that was amazing and special, and I give that away. But the Seattle game, to me they gave that football game away. They
yeah,
they made a lot of mistakes. They dominated that first half. That game should have been
yeah,
over in the first half. It should have been 21-0. Niners win. Niners
yeah,
are up. Even if Jimmy Garoppolo still got hurt, Trey Lance had to come in.
yeah.
Shouldn't matter.
Right. Right, because
The
Seattle had like 5 straight 3 and outs to start that game, if I
Yeah,
remember correctly. Yeah, it
yeah.
was ridiculous. Yeah,
Arizona, they moved the ball up and down the field. They got in the red zone, what, 3 times? They just
yeah,
couldn't convert their opportunities.
true.
It was a product of, again, them being unable to execute when it mattered most.
Real quick,
So
if I remember correctly, that's when the 49ers invented the idea of handing the ball off to Debo in the red zone. It's been working really well ever since. But
yeah,
they did do that once in that game, and I think he scored a 10-yard touchdown run.
I think
Just
so
saying.
too. I think that might have been his first touchdown run
I
of the
think it
season.
was.
Yeah.
Because I remember it was in the fourth quarter, and Baldy got real pissed about it. He was like, "What? It took you 56 minutes to do that?" I remember he had that line. I was
Yeah,
like, "Yes,
Baldy was
thank you."
really upset about that game. I
Yeah,
remember that. Yeah,
yeah,
but I mean, you can go down the list, right, of all those games at the beginning of the season, and they play good football teams. But we also believed at the time that they were a good football team. They weren't at the time they are now, and it wasn't about talent. It was just that they weren't playing with the cohesion and execution that a good football team plays with. They are now. It's as simple as that to me. If they took care of business early in the season, especially because the Niners kind of, knock on wood, what's happening for them right now is their best players are healthier and playing better than ever when a lot of these other teams' best players are starting to reel a little bit. And that's kind of what happened to the Niners in 2019. Like Buckner, Bosa,
mhm,
we're all playing on fumes by week 12, week 13. That's why it was essential that they won week 17 because those guys really needed the buy, and they talked about it how much they needed that buy in 2019. Now, fast forward to 2021, obviously not the same thing as 2019. These guys are really picking up steam and getting going as the season's going along. And can you imagine if the Niners, instead of being 2-5 earlier in the season, were 4-5 or 4-3,
yeah,
which I think could have been a realistic estimation. There's no telling where they would be right now. And I think that that's honestly their biggest thing. They blew some games at home, especially that they shouldn't have. And I think that's really what if they miss the Super Bowl this year, it's not going to be because to me they paid too much at the quarterback position or they didn't have good enough corners or Tom Compton's playing right tackle. I think those are micro reasons why they didn't, but really the macro of the entire situation is going to be that they didn't play well enough at the beginning of the season.
yeah. And I think what's ironic about that is they had a very difficult decision to make. How do they fix the injury issue and get to the season healthy? And the solution was to go light in training camp and have a really light training camp. So really they didn't really come into the season very prepared. And they didn't have an identity either because they spent all the training camp installing a 2 quarterback system they didn't end up using. So it seemed like it took them till November to like just uh peak, really. And now that
Yeah,
they have, I mean, it's the opposite approach of two years ago because they started off 8-0 and were kind of running on fumes by the end. Maybe this team is just talented enough to like run the table right now. It'll be interesting. This is definitely the opposite approach of 2 years ago.
I think they're capable of doing it, and I think if they do run the table, they got a chance in the
Absolutely.
playoffs.
Next topic. Silver linings of the upcoming Thursday night game. Um, Lay out again how compromised the Titans are, and then I'm going to add a little bonus for why this is actually a blessing that the Niners have to go across the country and do this.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm ready. I think I might have to take an L on this, but before the season, I was
Me too.
really adamant. I've been adamant for
Yes.
for a very long time that this was a scheduled loss because I just think the logistics of a West Coast team having to travel cross country on a short week and play in the East Coast is a very difficult thing to do, no matter what. I mean, Jim Harbaugh complained about it in 2011. He
Endlessly.
said this isn't fair.
Yeah.
He just straight up said it when they
It's
had
not
to
fair.
go and play the Thanksgiving Brother Bowl
Yeah.
in Baltimore. They had to go cross country, and the Niners were I wouldn't say unprepared to play that game. It was a close game, but they made
Sure.
a lot of execution errors that you would
Yeah, they did.
expect because
Yeah.
they had a traveling impediment, which the Ravens didn't have, right?
Legal
Alex
chop
Smith,
block,
big
Frank
touchdown
Gore.
to right
Legal chop
to
block. Yeah.
exactly the one to
Yep.
Teddy Ginn.
That's right. Remember that.
So I think the silver lining of this is that Tennessee is totally banged up.
Yep.
They don't have their three best offensive players outside of their quarterback. They don't have a lot of depth on the offensive side of the ball to begin with. Their offense was relying on the fact that they have two great receivers, a great running back, and a quarterback who will throw the ball down the field, standing in the pocket willingly, off play action. They don't have any of that right now. And their defense is good. It's been playing well. Pittsburgh's offense isn't very good, and they did a good job. But Tennessee also turned the football over. Niners defense is very good. I don't expect Tennessee to move the ball very much on Thursday. So I think that, the Niners, it's a legitimate chance to win this game in spite of the logistical impediment. And if they win, no matter how ugly it is, and no matter what Tennessee is missing, it'll be one of their best wins of the season because it is a massive logistical issue to have to travel on the short week and without fully resting your bodies. And they've talked about how much the plane affects their rest and affects their health. And so I think it would be a massive win if they win in Tennessee. And then I know you're going to get in the second part of what the Thursday to Sunday rest is going to do for them.
Yeah, just to me, I mean, obviously, it's not going to feel great if they lose, but if they win, the added bonus, the silver lining on top of it is that they get a little mini bye week. They haven't had a bye week since early October. They got to make this run. They're probably pretty tired. And now, I mean, this is exhausting to have to go across the country, but if they pull this off, they get the weekend off, which is nice. It comes at a nice time. And then the next game is against Houston. That's kind of a bye week. And then they could rest their starters week 18. Who knows? It does seem like this is kind of like the climax of the regular season. If the Niners can get past a very beatable Titans team, they can catch their breath a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
And I think the Thursday night, having the Thursday night so late in the season is very advantageous, actually, because I think one of the worst parts about the 17-game season plus the 17 playoff where only one team gets the bye is that I think the one team that gets the bye is at such an advantage. Because, one team might have to play like 8 straight weeks of football in a row, then play a road playoff game, and then have to play a second road playoff game and have to play a third road playoff game to make the Super Bowl, which is incredibly difficult to do. And so the Niners having this kind of mini bye, like you said, could be massive in terms of just guys getting healthier or becoming healthier for another stretch run that they're going to have to go through if they want to make a deep run in the playoffs.
Couldn't hurt. Mo Dollars says Senator Vish has aged 3 years since he was last on. Great show, brothers. Keep it up. Thank you, Mo Dollars. The draft, their first 4 picks are not contributing at all. I know. Imagine how good this team would be if they were.
Yeah.
Imagine how much better this team could be. Oh well. At least they're good now. Know your personnel says special teams will kill this team. Every kickoff or punt on either side of the ball, I hold my breath. You know what? For you, let's jump right to special teams. I was going to save it for later, but how bad are the special teams, Vish?
It's bad right now. It's really bad. I don't think you can say they do anything well. Robbie Gould, he's usually been a very consistent kicker. The last few weeks or so, he's been a little shakier. He's missed an extra point. He's missed a couple of field goals, which isn't ideal. Obviously, the miss against Cincinnati was a little uncharacteristic of Robbie Gould. Under 50 yards, game on the line, that's usually you can put that in your back pocket. And he missed it pretty badly. He missed it quite far right. So it's bad, right? Mitch Wishnowsky is not punting very well at the moment. I don't know if he's injured. He hasn't punted like really well since the Seattle game. Feels like a lot of his punts are within 37 to 43 yards. He boomed one yesterday, and that one punt that he boomed, Trent Sherfield missed the tackle, and the guy returned it about 25 yards. So the net yardage on the punt again was not great. So they're not punting very well. Their kickoff coverage has not been great. Wishnowski's kickoffs are really, really flat, and they're also really short, which is also really difficult to cover. So again, I don't know if he's hurt or if he's battling through something, but it makes their kickoff coverage difficult. And then their punt coverage, which actually has not been too bad all year, especially because Wishnowski usually his punts lead to a lot of fair catches. Yesterday, they gave up that massive punt return. So right now, special teams across the board isn't very good. I talked about this on Twitter Spaces after the Seahawks game. I think a lack of continuity in their special teams has hurt them because the last few weeks or so, a lot of core special teams guys have had to play on defense, which has reduced their special team snaps. You know, Marcel Harris, Dante Johnson, those type of players who've been good special teamers for this team the last 2 years. But that was not the case yesterday. Yesterday, they had a lot of those guys out there on special teams. They just didn't play a very good game on special teams. Of course, the hasty fumble does not help because their special teams is also turning the ball over. Right. I didn't even talk to the offensive side of the special teams. Their kick return game isn't very good. Their punt return game isn't very good. Ayuk has been doing this
I
weird
campaigned
thing.
for Ayuk, but this dude has multiple times called for a fair catch, let it bounce,
Lets the ball bounce,
picked it up, stood still, and then ran out of bounds multiple times.
And he hesitates too to pick it up first.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, should I go? Should I go? Should I go? And then last second he goes. They have.
Man, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it doesn't seem like a very well coached unit. I'm sorry. Now it's not. Yeah. It's not Richard Hightower's fault that Robbie Gould missed a kick. It's not all his fault, but they were totally caught off guard on that fake punt return. Like, really, I don't know what he could point to right now to say that's evidence of me doing a good job.
Yeah, and I think they do. And I thought it was just a lack of cohesion and synchronization because they had so many people in and out of their special teams. You know, they're bringing people up every week. But at some point, you know, it's got to improve because those little things in the playoffs, right? We talked about it. We talked about how this team has 5 players that are amongst the 30 best in the NFL. And those 5 players are dominating right now. We've talked about how the rest of the league is reeling. We've talked about how the Niners are hot at the right time. We've laid out all these different reasons why the Niners can be a very formidable team over the next few weeks. But if you're making 2 or 3 special teams errors a game, I don't know how you can take them seriously. And the question is, can they fix it? The Niners, the one thing I think this coaching staff has done well from day one is that they find ways to fix issues. They adjust really well in the season. I think that's credit to Kyle Shanahan and this entire coaching staff. Like DeMeco Ryans solved the run defense, right? They are excellent against the run now. Mm-hmm. They struggled against the run earlier in the season. They're good at it now.
Yeah.
And so maybe Richard Hightower also finds a solution for this. So I'm still holding out hope, but right now it's not a good special teams unit at all.
James says, what's Debo's shelf life in the NFL? Should they sign him long-term or not? I think that's a good question. My question for you also is, what do you think of the way the Niners have been using him the last four games? I mean, he missed one, but I mean, this coincides with them winning. He scored all these touchdowns, 12 targets, 28 carries the last 4 starts for him. It's kind of amazing. That's 7 catches, 12 targets. What do you think of first the usage and then his shelf life, and whether they should sign him long-term or not? I mean, he was closing out the game between the tackles yesterday.
Yeah, I think they should sign him long-term. I understand the fear with his body and the sustainability of this play style. The issue is they have not found for the last 3 years, since week 6 of his rookie year, they have not found a way to replace what Deebo Samuel does. Like, they have not found
he's their Tyreek Hill, right?
Yeah, he's a bailout for their offense, really.
Yeah.
Every play with Deebo Samuel, no matter how well you block it or how well you call it, if you throw it to him behind the line of scrimmage, if you run it with him, he turns it into a positive game. Yesterday, I think they ran outside zone with him. It was the 2 guys missed blocks. It should have been a 3-yard loss. He gained 4 yards on it. Like, he's just a different level athlete. And I think for that reason, you have to sign him long-term and sign him for sure, not just because he's my favorite player in the NFL. What do I think of his usage? I think I liked his usage yesterday a lot. I thought they were too
5 and 5.
I thought they were a little too run heavy with him the weeks before, but I also understood
8-1, 9-1. Yeah.
But the pass game was also very Kittle centric. So it wasn't like they were really going anywhere else. They were just going to Kittle, which, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. But I like Deebo being at about 5 carries, 5 receptions. I think that's an ideal spot to be in with him. Because I do think at the end of the day, he's still a receiver. I don't want people to forget the first 8 weeks of the season, right? Any big
more dangerous as a receiver. If you have a quarterback getting the ball, I mean, sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, I mean, that's It's obvious. But yeah, he's averaging like 20 yards a catch. He should probably get the ball.
He is averaging 20 yards a catch, which is ridiculous because I feel like his A dot is probably like 6 or 7 yards from the line of scrimmage.
Probably. Absolutely. Let's just knock out a few more of these questions and then get back to the topics. Mike, thank you very much. That's £1. That's $2. That's freaking all the way from the UK, baby. Just wanted to celebrate McGlinchey is still out. Well, it's kind of mean, but I can't say that I haven't noticed that the Niners have been on a tear. And it's probably a coincidence, but it might not be. Justin says, how many yards /TD will Jimmy have and how many sacks, takeaways will the defense have in general? This week?
This week? I think Garoppolo can have about 200 yards passing and a touchdown.
Okay. And the defense? Sacks, takeaways? Justin needs to know.
4 or 5 sacks.
Yeah, I think that's
one takeaway.
Every kick return ends up at the 35 or 40. Joey Sly, he's on a team. Milf Hunter.
Yeah.
Washington.
But Joey Sly was booming those kickoffs. He was booming them.
Niner fans really missing Joey Sly right now. Which games you think we'll see Trey Lance? Possibly week 18 if the Niners sit their starters. Otherwise, they've made it pretty clear that there is no lead that's big enough.
I don't think they're gonna sit their starters week 18 though, because usually they're not. I don't expect them to win their division. So yeah,
that would be the only opportunity at this point.
I think so too.
They did that. Did you hear Cowherd say that Jimmy G is pushing the ball downfield because he's averaging 9 yards a throw? What's the national media thoughts? I just feel like everyone's trying to help the Niners trade this guy. I mean, just say the nicest things possible. PFF, give him a great grade. Everyone just praise him. But like, I don't know if teams are really buying it or they're just like, yeah, Debo's great, Kittle's great.
I think because he got dumped on a little bit, maybe excessively, and maybe I'll take ownership. Maybe I dumped on him excessively. I don't feel like I did, but I think maybe people felt he got dumped on excessively because the Niners were so open in their search to find a new quarterback, and Kyle Shanahan was so adamant in one presser in March that they traded him for a starting quarterback. We want a starting quarterback. I don't know if anybody can be alive on Sunday.
Yes.
So he was so adamant about that. I think people are coming back and realizing, well, maybe we were a little too harsh. He still is, what he is. But I think at the end of the day, I think everybody's kind of aware of what he is. I think he's kind of been consistent. I don't think he's a consistent quarterback, but I think he's consistently shown that he's a solid starter. I don't know if you can say he's nothing more or nothing less. He's definitely one of the 32 starting quarterbacks in the NFL when he's healthy. There's no doubt about that. There's no concerns about that, in my opinion. It's not like Goff, who I think is a fringe starter, backup type quarterback, in my personal opinion. So I think people saying this, it's almost reiterating what I think the exact thought process on him was in 19 or 18.
Okay, I have another question for you. It's Jimmy Garoppolo related. A lot of Niner fans the last couple of weeks have been drawing parallels to the 2011 Giants because that's a team that famously won as a wild card team and went through Candlestick to do it. Are there parallels between Jimmy Garoppolo and Eli Manning?
Yeah, so I actually, on Tuesday after I watched the game, I said this team gives me some 2011 Giants vibes. And it's because the 2011 Giants, if you remember, Eli Manning set the NFL record that year in fourth quarter comeback wins. They would win a lot of really close games. They were kind of a weird team because they would make mistakes, blah, blah, blah. And Garoppolo, for me in that game specifically, really reminded me of Eli. And they're not very similar in terms of their play style. I think Eli is just a better quarterback and he's more talented than Garoppolo, especially as just like an all-around thrower to all parts of the field. But I do think in terms of their personalities, there is a similarity. They have this kind of, I don't want to call it a nonchalance because they definitely care, but it's almost like a totally obliviousness to the fact that they made a mistake or they're playing well. It's almost
as opposed to Nick Mullins, right? Who you'd see him beating himself up on the field, on the sideline. It's like, you care too much, man. You really care too much.
And it affects him, right? One mistake, and you can see then he tightens up. Like he misses the first throw on a slant against the Eagles. Then he's got Kyle Juszczyk wide open for an 85-yard touchdown, and he throws a terrible pass.
Right.
But Eli Manning, like Jimmy can throw a pick in the next drive. It's like he doesn't even know that he threw a pick. And I think Eli has that same thing. And since that Cincinnati game to me emphasized it the most because honestly, I didn't think he played very well for the first 3 quarters or so of that Cincinnati game. I thought he left yards in the field. I thought he was a little skittish at times. Then the entire perception of that game changed because the last 2 drives, he got hot. And once he got hot, and when Jimmy Garoppolo gets hot, it looks pretty because he's got a pretty throwing motion. He can
Yeah.
be accurate when he's hot, and it looks how it's supposed to look because
Yeah.
he'll get the ball out on time, on schedule, and it just feels like back foot hits the ground and he gets the ball out. And when he gets hot, and I think Eli was kind of the same way where he was a little streaky, but when Eli got hot, Eli took it to a level to me that was like amongst the top quarterbacks in the NFL. I don't think Jimmy takes it quite to that level, but I do think Jimmy's best is a lot higher than, I think he's more physically talented than a Kirk Cousins because his best, some throws he can make, Kirk Cousins can't make with a person in his face, without setting his feet, flicking a ball into a tighter window over the middle of the field, 10 to 12 yards. I don't think so. I think that's where I draw that parallel.
I just want to draw one distinction, though. To me, Eli Manning was undeniably clutch. 2 shots at the Super Bowl against Brady, won them both, and each time had a huge throw down the field to win it. One to Tyree, one to Manningham. I can't get Jimmy's 1 4th quarter in the Super Bowl. And I know it's just one game, but it really does define his career until he gets back there and wins it. So that would be but I definitely see what you're saying in terms of their demeanor. It's totally true. It is absolutely, he has the Eli Manning demeanor, which frankly is an asset. Because if Peyton had the Eli Manning demeanor, Peyton would have had more Super Bowls, in my opinion. He cared too much, too.
I think so, too. And it is an asset. This is 100% a compliment, in my opinion.
It is.
It's a testament. And, I think he is clutch. I do understand the Super Bowl argument because that's when really the definition of clutchness is made. Yeah. But other than the Super Bowl, he does kind of show out. Whenever he has to make that one drive, no matter what's happened prior in the game, it is like Eli Manning, because Eli Manning can throw 3 picks and then come back late in the game and make 4 throws, and you go, why weren't you throwing the ball like this earlier in the game? It'll never make sense. And Jimmy Garoppolo has that in him too.
Yep. Good call. Mike says Jimmy seems to play better without as much influence from Kyle, i.e. in 2 minutes warning. 2-minute warnings? What do you think?
I saw Colin Cowherd said the same thing. I don't think it's as much that. I just think if you go back and look at what Jimmy
Colin Cowherd said it, huh? Hold on.
Yeah. If you go look at what Garoppolo,
what do I think?
No, it's to me, it's a product of who he was in college and what he was asked to do. And his natural instinct is just to get the ball in the shotgun and play a little freelance a little more, play in traffic a bit more, and just play his natural game on instinct. And in a 2-minute drill, it gets spread out and he's able to do that. And that's his game. That's who he was in college. I think it's just that's when habit, you're not going to change who you are, even though like his habit is to play quarterback that way. And in 2-minute drills, he's able to do that. You can't play like that for the entirety of a game, though.
Yeah. Yeah. I just think it's kind of, anyway. Yeah, absolutely. I just think it's funny that Cowherd said it. Like, where did he think of that himself, or did one of his former colleagues at Fox say that? Anyway, interesting thought. Refs gave ATL 10 points in the game. Both got held again. And even Armstead on Falcons lone touchdown pass roughing call on Key, very suspect. This is what kills me about Niner fans. I understand Raider fans and their paranoia, but not like the Niners are a cash cow for the league. They're the biggest franchise in the West Coast. They make a lot of money. They're one of the richest franchises in the NFL. Why would the NFL work against and help Atlanta? Atlanta.
Yeah.
Why?
No.
Atlanta means nothing to the league. Dude, are they making money? I don't know.
Yeah, no. The issue is when we do the refs this way, like, sure, the Arden Key call was bad, but if you watch 10 games on a Sunday the way I do, you see the Arden Key get made 4 times each Sunday, and all 4 times it's a bad call.
To me, it's a bad rule.
To make that
I don't really know what refs are supposed to do with that. That's a ridiculous rule.
I agree.
Land on the guy. It's football.
I agree, and I think that's the big problem. I think, and it's in every team. Every team's fandom has this. Anybody who's a fan of everything has it. It's always the victim mentality, when the reality of it is that there's about 7 victims every week to the refs because the refs are terrible in the NFL.
That's a good point. Yeah, the refs aren't good. The teams aren't that good. Love Mondays with Vish. % Trey starts in 2022. Give us a quick %.
100.
Oh, I love that. Nick Mullins will spank the Raiders today. I hope so, man. I hope the Nick Mullins story has a second act. Jamaican boy says, Grant, my pessimistic brother, Niners will run out of luck. Niners been fortunate to get the dub on teams that are slightly worse than them. Vish, keep the beard. Yeah, I like the beard. I like the beard. Jamaican boy, I feel you, man. I do. But I'm not going to go in too hard. Andre Nicotina, big fan of your work, says, shout out to Niner fans who've had a bad day when Jimmy plays good. I eat my cereal on victory morning smiling about it. You eat your cereal smiling about Jimmy Garoppolo? That's cool. That's what's up. Jimmy's
Who has a bad day when Jimmy plays good? I don't think anybody has a bad day when Jimmy plays good. I don't think anybody has a bad day. Honestly, I don't think Jimmy Garoppolo dictates mood. I think people get upset with Jimmy Garoppolo when the Niners don't do well because he's the quarterback of the team. I mean, people act like it was any different, but I remember people getting real mad with Colin Kaepernick in 2015 when the Niners weren't playing very well under Jim Thompson. Like, he's regressed. He's not the same. His mechanics suck. He can't throw short, blah, blah, blah. It's a natural thing with Alex Smith the same way. I remember 2011, every time the Niners lost, it was because Alex Smith couldn't throw down the field, blah, blah, blah. So
that Niner guy says Niners this year are the Chargers from the late 2000s, early 2010s. Bad starts cost them hold field and Super Bowl appearance.
I hope they're not that unlucky.
Those teams were unlucky.
Yeah.
Lombardi says Debo, first wide receiver in NFL history with 1,000 yards receiving to be converted to running back during the season.
I have no words. It's funny. I was actually watching his stream. I don't know why it came on my Twitter feed today, and he took a shot at me while I was watching it. It was pretty funny.
What did he say?
He's been taking shots at like everybody, but he only does it on his Twitter screen. He's still salty about the little back and forth that we had on Twitter, which, again, if he didn't say anything, like if he wasn't so pretentious and dismissive and arrogant, I wouldn't have said anything to him because I don't care that much. I respect what he does. This isn't even my profession. But he was, so then I went back at him. And he basically, I was watching the stream and he was like, there was an attack on me. I don't even know the guy who did it. He said, I don't even understand EPA. You don't understand EPA. And then I was,
he said that.
I said, I'm here. I said, I'm right here, LMAO. And he wouldn't pull the comment up or say anything. But it's funny because I'm still yet to hear him explain what this stat of EPA that he cites. I know how the model works. I'm going into a career in data science. So I think it's pretty interesting, pretty funny because I don't really care, but I just think it's funny that I made this guy so salty.
David, let me give you some professional advice. Stop messing with Vish, all right? Stop. Because if you keep it going, Vish has so much more he can say. I'm just saying, you don't want this. You got the smoke originally. It didn't go well. I would just say drop it at this point and move on to other topics because you're having a very successful career and this will only hurt you. Vish is my friend. He doesn't want to do this, but he can only defend himself if backed into a corner, and he has my full blessing. Brittany says, Vish, your degree in computer science, data analytics, correct? How often do you incorporate your degree when discussing football and how? That's a great question.
Yeah, so my degree, I'm going to complete it in May, but it's in computer science. But my interest of focus is in data science. I've done 2 internships actually in data science. And I don't really incorporate it other than because like a lot of these data models that people use to calculate EPA, CPOE, and put up these graphs, it's done in a way that I can understand because I've studied the topic. So I use it only there to try and understand how the model works and then try to understand how the statistics works. Because there's actually use to all of those analytics. Every single one of those analytics that David Lombardi uses have their own worth and they're fantastic. And everybody uses them, not just him. He just cites them more. He's kind of become Why are you laughing?
Enough of him. Yeah.
But the point is they have a valid use. You just have to know how to cite them and what context you're citing them. And I think that's what really gets lost because
that's why I don't mess with them because I was an English major and I couldn't even begin to tell you. I don't even know what it stands for.
But it's the PFF-ification of NFL fandom because PFF has now given you fancier numbers and NFL fans
don't
and
trust
arguments
what
always
you don't know what you're talking about. Let these 23-year-old interns explain it for you. Yeah, that's what I get.
Yeah, because everybody wants to just throw out fancier numbers, right? Because now
77.4.
if you and I, Grant, were sitting at the lunch table or sitting at a coffee shop and arguing about the 49ers, and you throw out 4,000 passing yards,
89.4.
30
Yeah,
touchdowns, 13 interceptions, those are just counting stats. Now I
true.
sound smarter if I throw out 98.4 PFF grade,
That's right.
0.134 EPA
It's true.
when throwing in automatic pass situations. I might not know what any of that means or how that works or how any of it understands,
But
but I
you
win
just
the
one upped your
argument if I
friend.
throw that out.
Yeah, your buddy feels dumb. You won the interaction. You get to, yeah, it feels a good fit. Yeah. See, this is why I a lot of my friends are girls because we don't talk about PFF grades. We don't have to be right, but not all my friends. Anyway, I'm just saying, Brittany, I feel you. Let's move on. Okay, it's been too long. We need to talk about D'Amico Ryans because I meant to get to him earlier. How well is he doing right now as a coordinator? First part of the question. Second part, does this dude look like a guy who could be a head coach sooner than later? In that order.
Yes, on the head coach, and he is a fantastic defensive coordinator. The amount of growth he's shown throughout this season is incredible. He's gotten more and more comfortable as the season has gone on, in terms of how he calls his defense, in terms of mixing up his calls, in terms of how he uses his personnel creatively. He is really, really good. I wanted them to hire Raheem Morris, who the Rams hired, and not promote D'Amico Ryans. I was wrong. He is a better defensive coordinator today than Raheem Morris. I think Raheem Morris, maybe part of his issue is that he's also running a scheme that's not his scheme. It's Brandon Staley's scheme, and he has to call a defense like that. But sometimes
Yeah.
I find Raheem Morris to be too simple and maybe a little too passive with his defensive calls. I don't find that with D'Amico Ryans. I find him to be aggressive. And I think, Kyle Shanahan said the testament of a great coach earlier this season is getting your A players to play like A players. Nick
Boom.
Bosa playing
Yeah.
like an A player. Fred
Yep.
Warner playing like an A player. Look at the guys he's developed. Aziz Al-Shaair this year has played like a B plus, A minus player. Eric Armstead's a
That's
B
true. That was
plus, A
his
minus
project
player.
when he was the linebacker coach.
Yeah.
People
Yeah.
forget. Yeah.
Jimmy Ward is playing like an A player.
That's true.
Jaquaski Tart is playing like a B plus, A minus player. He's gotten
Mosley
all
was.
those guys to play.
Mosley was
K'Wan
too.
Williams is having a fantastic season.
Yes.
He's
Yeah.
gotten all these guys to play really well. He's been doing it while having a revolving door, depending on who starts at corner, because his one corner that's played really well all season, Emmanuel Mosley, is not even playing right now.
I know.
And this defense is still playing at a high level.
Can I give you some stats real quick? This season, the Niners have given up 2 300-yard passers. Burrow and Goff. One was overtime. One was garbage time. Also, last 6 games, the Niners have given up 3.3 yards per carry. These stats are courtesy of Mr. Roscoe's on Twitter. If you didn't know or you don't know.
Mr. Roscoe's his man.
Yeah, so
Chris
D'Amico, wow. Yeah, he's having what an elite rookie season as a coordinator. And then to me, real quick, I mean, I'd love to hear what you think, but it seems to me like it's kind of showing everything you want as a head coach. I mean, he's not an offensive guy, but he was a good player. He was the quarterback of the defense. He's gone his way. He's worked his way up through the ranks. He had tremendous success as a position coach. He's having tremendous success as a coordinator. Seems like Mike Vrabel 2.0.
Yeah. The question is, can he handle situational football? But I don't see why not. He seems to be really, really smart. I love his pressers. I think he's a direct and smart communicator. I think he's different from Robert Saleh in the way he communicates, but I think it's effective nonetheless. I think he's an interesting
very
speaker.
Professional.
Yeah.
He's very convivial. Sometimes I'd like him to, I wish he would give less, the guys are working hard answers, and, something a little bit more, but that's really doesn't really matter. It doesn't determine how good of a coach he's going to be. That's more of a media coach relationship thing, which evolves over time.
And this defense is serious, Grant. I mean, you look across the board. I mean, Jones, Bosa, Armstead, Arden Key. That's a mean front four. Now, those 4 names we would not have thought in the beginning of the season that combination would be maybe one of the best front fours in football, but it's become that. When Al-Shaair and Warner play, I think Al-Shaair raises the speed of this defense the way Quan Alexander used to. And it's nothing against Greenlaw, who's really, really solid. I just think Al-Shaair is just a bit more explosive than Greenlaw. And he can miss some plays from time to time, but they used to talk about Quan Alexander in the same way where he gets guys to the football.
Yep.
And Alshire kind of does that because he flies
Yeah.
sideline to sideline. And I think if they can get Greenlaw back too, having all three would be phenomenal. K'Wan Williams to me is the best nickel in the NFL in the run game. I don't think anybody fills or triggers better than K'Wan Williams. I think he's a phenomenal tackler. Tart and Ward are both incredible. I mean, Ward, everybody took shots at him when he said tight ends weren't going to get 50 yards on him. He should have said they shouldn't. They're not going to get 30 yards on him.
It's true. When I'd never see him give up a catch. So hold on, D'Amico, salute. I was very skeptical. You had a couple missteps early in the season. I jumped all over you. But stepping back, not only are you an excellent coordinator, not only were you the right choice for this team, but dude, you're going to be a head coach soon. Like honestly, in this upcoming coaching cycle, someone should interview you. I don't know if you're ready, but I mean, if the choice is down to Byron Leftwich or you, I mean, Byron Leftwich just put up 0 points yesterday. You are doing really well, so he should at least get some
And I would
love.
like to say one more thing too. He's one of the things I think he's done better than Robert Saleh is when he has to put new corners in situations, he protects them. I mean, they had that cover two plan against the Bengals with Ambry Thomas to Ambry Thomas's side, where they had consistently played it. And I know Jamar Chase got him later in that game. It was inevitable that Burrow and Jamar Chase would figure it out eventually. They stumped them with that plan early in that football
Like
game.
2.5, 3/4.
Yeah. And I know Ambry Thomas had a couple of ticky-tack penalties and stuff, but he's protected Ambry Thomas and put him in good spots. Ambry Thomas yesterday, he got baptized at the catch point by Russell Gage, but at least he was there. Hopefully he shows more progression throughout the season. I mean, he's still young. He didn't play last year, but the fact that he does those type of things, which was, one of the complaints with Robert Saleh with the Brian Allen game, it felt like he didn't protect Brian Allen at all, and it felt like Fitzmagic was just dropping back and saying, "There's Brian Allen. I'm going to throw the ball at him." Matt Ryan wasn't able to do that 100% of the time against Ambry Thomas. It happened to Greg Maben too when Jimmy Ward got hurt against the Packers in 2018. That comeback is maybe C.J. Beathard's best game of his career. So he's a really, really good Grant. He should definitely become a head coach. I hope he does it though, because out of selfish reasons, I'd like him to remain the coordinator of the Niners.
It's like Vrabel ascended so quickly. It seems like Ryan's. I mean, he was just as good of a player as Vrabel, if not better.
He was better.
It's better. I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So no one has done more to rehabilitate Jimmy Ward's image with the fan base than you. I mean, Jimmy Ward's a hell of a player, and I didn't get it. The fan base largely didn't get it. And you, for like a year, you were like, whoa, 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 whoa. Like, he's not getting in the stat sheet. But he does this, and now everyone gets it. Can you do some of that for Eric Armstead? Because I guess I'm hard on him because they pay him so much, and I feel like, dude, you should be filling up the stat sheet for all they pay you, and he doesn't. And he did that 1 year, and he probably never will again. But you have an appreciation for Eric Armstead, so explain it.
Yeah, I thought he dominated yesterday's game, frankly. I thought he dominated yesterday's game. I thought he was unblockable in both the run and the pass game. The 3rd and goal stop that after, Jaquiski Tartt had that insane play to get over the little pick they set to try and get Kyle Pitts open, and then he broke up the pass. That was an unbelievably good play. That play does not happen if Eric Armstead isn't an absolute monster on 3rd and goal and just destroying that run play. Eric Armstead is incredible. I think his biggest problem, you just said it, is that he just doesn't fill up the stat sheet.
Yeah.
And I think he just is always maybe a half a step away from finishing the play. And I think the thing that Eric Armstead's impact, I think it lies in the fact that he makes other guys better. Yeah. If you look at when Bosa and Armstead rush on the same side, Bosa often is benefiting from Armstead's incredible ability to push the pocket.
Right.
Because
that's true.
It gives him a shorter distance to get to the quarterback. If you look at guys like Arden Key, who've really stepped up, even Ebukam, who's been playing a lot better when he seemingly could not rush the passer at all for the first 9 games of this season, it's a lot because Eric Armstead really, really is the initial guy that creates the initial push and all of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I wish there was some sort of stat that quantified it. Like Chris Sims calls it the F up the play stat. Eric Armstead probably leads this team in effing up the play in both the run game and the pass game. Outside of Bosa, he's probably right there. Right. It's just that Bosa finishes plays better than him. And
Yes.
I think that Eric Armstead is a really, really good player. I know there's quibbles about his contract. I know the biggest quibble with Eric Armstead is the fact that he was signed and DeForest Buckner wasn't in the
Yes.
same offseason, and they both are defensive linemen, and people are gonna hang that over his head.
Buckner messes up the play too. He can do all that and finish. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Buckner is better than Armstead, but I don't think that necessarily means Armstead isn't a very good player, because he is a very good player. I thought he dominated yesterday. It's unfortunate that the stat sheet won't show it, but he was everywhere. He's a mammoth in the run game. I've watched 2 Niners games in person. It's my first time in a long time seeing them in person.
Yeah,
Eric Armstead is one of the biggest human beings I've ever seen. He stands out in a field of big human beings as just a naturally humongous human being that's a freak athlete. It's him on defense and Trent Williams on offense that really, really stood out for me. I think he's a fantastic football player.
Yeah, when people say that Javon Kinlaw is huge, I'm like, Armstead.
I didn't get to see Kinlaw,
Yeah. All right.
I right now, as a big Kinlaw fan, watching the way Armstead and DJ Jones are playing and all that, I don't know if Kinlaw really has a role next year. Maybe he will, and he'll make me real happy, but
I don't see a role on third down because of the emergence of Arden Key. This guy, the Raiders, he was a 3rd round pick. He was a really productive player at LSU, which is a premium program. And he was like just a total disappointment. He had like 1 or 0 sacks for the Raiders, something crazy. And the Niners get him basically for nothing. The Raiders, meanwhile, poached Solomon Thomas from the Niners, really excited about it. Now, this guy is like a sack. I mean, he almost had 2 sacks in this game, except for this new rule, which is crazy. How is he doing what he's doing? What is this?
He was not only a premium player at LSU, most people before his final season at LSU thought he would be a top 10 pick.
Right.
He then had issues with weight and different type of things that then pushed him down the draft board, and he was a risk when the Raiders took him. I do think the Raiders, it just didn't mesh from a personality standpoint. And I think it's credit to the Niners, because the one thing that Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch have had down from day one is personalities seem to come to the Niners, and it seems to always mesh.
Yeah.
We have not had them have a massive falling out with the player, or a disagreement with the player, or a player really come out and
like how Harbaugh had with Brandon Jacobs, right?
Yeah. Or Alex Boone.
Yep. True.
We haven't had that, and so I think that's credit to them. But I tweeted yesterday, I'm an Arden Key stan. He's amazing. He's, to me, been one of the biggest contributors to this run, because Bosa's been playing better than Bosa was playing at the beginning of the season. But Bosa at the beginning of the season was already playing at an incredible level.
Yeah, they were losing games with Bosa dominating. Yeah, you can't do it by yourself.
They needed somebody else to come with him. And I know people in the chat are saying Bay Area Baller. I remember Bay Area Baller tweeted at me in the offseason.
That's why he is the Bay Area Baller.
Offseason edition, and he was absolutely right. Arden Key is fantastic. When he rushes from the inside, no guard can seemingly block him. He still gets pressure from the outside. I think Jordan Willis.
He's like their Justin Tuck, right? Isn't that what Justin Tuck would do for the Giants? He would, or would OC go inside at all, or was he just edge?
They all were.
Yeah, they all would kind of take turns, right? Anyway.
He's good, Grant. He's
he's winning his one-on-ones. He has long arms. He has how is he doing this? He's just beating these guards to the edge.
I think he's an explosive athlete. I think he's really long, and I think the other thing he does is, because he's so long, when he gets half a step and he's basically got half a man, meaning he's got a man on half of his body, he's able to get his arms up and really. There's not a stat for this, but Arden Key's pressures really disrupt throws more than anything. I mean, he took away a touchdown yesterday with a quarterback hit on Matt Ryan, because he just absolutely destroyed the guard and walloped him. But Arden Key is phenomenal.
It just kills me that they basically swapped. They also got Hurst in the swap, but the Raiders were like, we want Solomon Thomas. Like, Solomon Thomas never works half a man. What he does, when he gets a sack, it's because he's locked on a guy and a quarterback starts running around and he can disengage and run sideways. That's it to me. This guy actually can beat guys one-on-one. Man, they're getting him for $1 million this year.
This is
wow.
He's replaced. This is what they signed Ebukam to be this is what D Ford was supposed to be, but they knew they couldn't rely on his health. And they were able to get him and Arden Key turning into this. This is one of the best signings of the entire offseason. We have to credit because we always get on him, right? Like, oh, you spent so much money on Jet McKinnon and it didn't work out. How about spending $1 million on Arden Key?
Their bargain signings always bail out their over, when they bust on players that they overspend on. D4 didn't work out. Oh, it's cool. We got Arden Key for $1 million. Great. Do that every time.
I'll say this too. He's better than Kerry Hyder Jr. last year. He's just flat out better than him to me.
I know we have about 25 minutes worth of questions we're going to get to. I just want to finish up this defensive topic, and then we'll get some questions, go offense, and then look ahead. Guys that you would think wouldn't be coming back: Jaquaski Tart, K'Wan Williams, Josh Norman, veteran DBs in their 30s. That seems like you're always trying to replace your veteran DBs in their 30s. Problem is, these guys are Tart and K'Wan are playing really well. Yeah. Norman's solid. And in all three cases, there is not just an easy way to replace any of them. Like, clearly the Niners have been trying to replace Tart with Hufanga, but I think what it's looking like right now is Hufanga's a good backup when Tart misses time, which is every season. Good backup. But a replacement? He's not as good as Tart. Do you think these guys could actually come back again?
So I think their big issue, and I would actually loop DJ Jones kind of in this category. I think Norman's a little bit separate, but I think Tart, K'Wan Williams, and DJ Jones, those three guys are interesting to me because they have health issues that makes you skeptical every time the Niners rely on them every season, because all three miss time every single season. Mm-hmm. But all three are so good when they start, and they don't cost that much for the Niners. Like, you can't blame them for bringing back, right? K'Wan Williams, I said, he's the best nickel in the run game in the NFL. I don't think anybody does it better. Mike Hilton's pretty good, but I think K'Wan Williams is the one-of-one nickel in the run game. And it's crazy because he's like 5'8", 190 pounds, but
he's so small. Hey, when I was face-to-face with him in Cincinnati at the elevator, first of all, I was like, oh man, it's like, I've seen K'Wan. I've been covering him for 5 years. He just looks like a kid. He looks like he's in college still. He's just hanging out there with his hands in his pockets. I'm like, oh, it's K'Wan Williams. Sorry, keep going.
Yeah, he's unbelievable. Part all around, just fantastic. Great in coverage. Great in the run game. He's missed a couple more tackles than he usually does this year. He missed one on the 3rd and 6, but overall, he's just a really, really good player, really solid. Again, it's just the injuries. And then DJ Jones. Yeah, DJ Jones, same thing. He just gets injured, but whenever he plays, he dominates. He's a really, really good nose tackle, and he's a really good interior defensive lineman. So the question for all three, right, is can they stay healthy? But I don't see the Niners having anybody on their roster that can replace any of these three guys to the level that they are. And the level that they are is above average to very good starters in the NFL, which there's not a lot of players in the NFL that match that level, frankly. All three are near the upper echelon in terms of being the better players at their position in the NFL. Tart's excellent. K'Wan's excellent. DJ Jones is excellent. And, people are talking about the future. It's still about this year, but next year, obviously, let's say they do make the transition to Trey Lance. If these three guys are gone and they sign bigger contracts elsewhere, the Niners don't have, the money and assets to go sign a high-level nickel, a high-level safety, and a high-level, three technique, and just throw them out there and say, you guys fill in for these guys, and we can keep the same level of team.
Or say, Diamador, we trust you. Like, what if he's
right? They're not. They're just not going to be. They're not that level of these three guys. Hufanga isn't Tart's level as a talent, though. He's showing promise as a fifth-round rookie to be able to play some. The same thing with Diamador Lenore. Frankly, they worry about Diamador Lenore so much in the run game, which is why Dante Johnson is their first nickel off the bench, because he feels much better in the run game than him. And so because of that, I think that it would be great if the Niners can bring him back. I think all three players can sign bigger contracts elsewhere. I just think the market for all three players is totally dependent on how much other teams trust their health, because when all three are on the field, they've shown there's not much you can there's not much to really complain about with them. They're all very, very good. It's just,
and they're cost effective. I mean, really, Jaquaski Tart, how much are you going to cost you this year? Are you really going to let him sign with the Rams for like $3 million, or the Seahawks, or the car? I mean, really, are you going to let him just walk so you can replace him with someone who's not as good? K1's not expensive. No one's beating down the door for him. I mean, these are 30-year-old DBs that work in your – I don't know. It just seems like the Niners should be careful.
And I thought bringing them back this offseason, I remember we were talking about it, and we were shocked that they brought all three back because these were the three we talked about that we were like they were gonna walk.
We didn't realize the Jets wanted to be the youngest team of all time. Didn't realize. Yeah.
And then they got hurt, right?
Yeah.
And then they got hurt, which
True.
All three of them tend to get hurt at some point in the season. That's really their only issue. And people were saying, why did you bring them back? They get hurt. Well, you bring them back because we're seeing now when they're healthy, they're excellent.
Yeah, same reason to bring him back next year. Okay, last defense question, then we're going to answer questions. Got this a lot last night after the game. Didn't have a great answer for it. Should the 49ers sign Bashaud Breeland?
No.
Why?
I think they're playing well enough at DBs. I think with their DBs, I think Bashaud Breeland is a good corner in man at times, but I think he can be sometimes a little bit suspect in zone. I think the Niners have developed these DBs. They've gotten these DBs to play a certain way in the system. I think they're confident Emmanuel Mosley is coming back. I think the only way you would sign a Bashaud Breeland is if you weren't sure if Emmanuel Mosley is coming back. When Mosley and Norman have played, I know Norman gets beat at times. Most cornerbacks in the NFL get beat. He gets beat by the Metcalfs and the Jamar Chases. Most cornerbacks do. Norman isn't a high-level starter by any means, but he's more or less been serviceable as the number 2 corner, given what else the Niners have. And Mosley, frankly, has been an above-average starter this season as a corner.
So. Yeah,
and he's an excellent tackler. He's very, very good all around. So I don't think they need it right now. I think it's just the hope that you have a healthy Mosley. I do think, at some point people will say like, oh, you can throw it up against the secondary. It'll come back to bite you. Heck, I see Jamar Chase doing that to Marlon Humphrey when they play the Ravens. I see DK Metcalf, when Russell Wilson is right and playing well, doing those kinds of things. Like only Jalen Ramsey is basically the guy that you can't throw it up to any point at any time in any game because he's basically got everybody on lock and key. Everybody else, even the best of the best, gets beat some. And when it's like that and you're talking about, and Norman's cost effective at this point, I wouldn't throw in Bashaud Breeland to this team at this point.
But also there's the issue which you brought up earlier about the personality, right? I mean, why is he available right now?
Yeah.
Why? I don't even know. Like, what did he do?
Yeah, he got in some sort of argument in the practice, right? That's why he got cut.
And what did you just say? The Niners haven't had someone like that, right?
No.
They haven't had someone who had a beef or a bone to pick or who.
They had one. He was traded the week it happened.
Who? Bowman.
2017 Rashard Robinson.
Oh, Bowman too. But yeah, they don't bring in guys like this. They avoid guys like this. So I think
he punched a coach. Okay, that's worse.
Bashaud Breeland punched a coach? Yeah, I don't think
that's what somebody said.
Probably not going to happen.
I don't think he did that. I think if he did that, it would be a giant NFL PA issue and everything.
All right, let's answer a half hour's worth of questions. Andrew says, do you think Kyle is not playing Lance because he's saving him and his skill set for the playoffs to surprise every defense in the postseason?
No.
Nope. No. That would be, if you imagine bringing out the 2 quarterback system in a playoff game, it not working and losing. Well, I mean, how much criticism? It would be all your fault. 100% your fault.
And he's hot right now as a play caller. Their offense is kind of rolling. Jimmy G has been solid and he's been, efficient.
Leonardo says, greetings from Brazil. Can we win the Super Bowl this year?
We
talked about it at the beginning of the show at big time. Like the Niners have 5 of the top 30 players in the league. No other team can say that. Even though one of those 5 isn't a quarterback, they still have that more. I don't know, quintet? That quintet.
Yeah, quintet.
And the rest of the league is down. It's a mediocre league right now. Standout Company says, take my money. Thank you. I appreciate it. $5. He didn't really say it like that, but I appreciate it. Boom. Can the Niners win the NFC West? I think they can if they went out and Arizona loses the rest of their games.
Mathematically, they can. I don't think they will.
I don't think they will. And there's no way Arizona is just going to keep losing, right? Like, too much talent?
Basically, the Niners, in order to win the NFC West, have to have the best record in the NFC West because their best case scenario is to be 2-4 in their division. 2-4 teams in their division usually don't win their division.
Generally
but
not.
Hey, crazier things have happened.
Why these 2 clowns are disrespecting Jimmy G like this? GM and coach both will be unemployed now if Jimmy's not the quarterback. Hey, Raphael, thank you very much. I
Wait,
pride
what did
myself
we
on
say
being a
about
clown.
Jimmy?
Dude, Jimmy Garoppolo fans are so fiercely loyal. Like, I don't think one thing I like about Jimmy Garoppolo is he's not thin-skinned. He could care less, but his fans are very sensitive.
I'm trying to think what anybody said, what either of us said about him that would.
We're clowns. Sugar Shane says each have 2 Super Bowl rings. LOL, seriously, if Jimmy gets us to an NFC Championship game or better, does Lance sit another year? Well, that's one
No.
of our topics. I mean, I don't want. Can we save it? I don't want to go there yet. We're
Or
gonna
you.
build up to it,
Okay.
but I don't want to go. Hold on. Can we? Should we go there?
No, let's just do it now.
This is all right. Okay. What Jimmy Garoppolo has to do to return in 2022? What does he have to do?
Oh, I mean, they've already said it, right? Nothing short of a Super Bowl run is getting him back in 2022. I think Ian Rappaport said it. It felt like a report that was kind of odd timing. It felt like it was straight
But
from
hold
the
on. Let
Niners'
me ask the
mouth.
question this way. They keep saying they're following the Chiefs model. The Chiefs made the switch to Mahomes. It was easy. They lost first round of the playoffs. They lost to freaking Mariota. It
Who
was
had
like no
9
one was saying,
touchdowns and 17 interceptions that year.
yeah, I mean, I think there's a large contingent of Niner fans that are like, hold on, we like Jimmy, let's slow down. I don't think there was anyone in Kansas City saying that. So
Plus,
yeah,
even if they did say it, Mahomes threw 5 touchdowns in that first game. So
exactly. So to me, like, let's say they go to the NFC Championship game and Jimmy plays well along the way. I think it gets complicated. Do you think in that scenario they get rid of him?
I do think they move
Okay,
off of him, but I think the
nice.
difficulty then is I think it puts an excessive amount of pressure on Lance. I think it puts an unnecessary amount of pressure on him because you know what? He might not hit the ground running the way Mahomes did in 2018. I wonder
Most
how the
people don't.
situation would have been different if
Yeah,
Mahomes, had a really slow start, went through a lot of growing pains, and then became Patrick Mahomes. Because I think a lot of people would have been pretty upset that they moved off of Alex Smith the first, 8 games of that season when he was struggling or he was slow because Alex Smith was an MVP candidate the year before. But I also think Chiefs fans also had to go through 4 straight years of Alex Smith showing his limitations when they got to the playoffs and everything. With Jimmy G, basically you have the 1 year they went to the Super Bowl and then the other years he's been hurt, so you haven't had the repeated amount of where he's kind of plateaued as what he is. I think
I
it would
already
put
know
an
what the spreadsheet's going to say if he goes to the NFC Championship game. But hey, both seasons he was healthy, NFC Championship. How do you move on from that? NFC Championship appearances.
Yeah, no, I think that you would have to. Again, you gave up so much for Lance that to me you have to move off of it.
Right, right.
But then again, I think it puts Lance in a really, really difficult spot. Because what if the team you bring back next year, we talked about Tart, K1, DJ Jones. What if you're unable to re-sign any of those 3 guys? They go somewhere else because they get paid a lot of money. They're all really, really good players. Then what happens with this team? Maybe you're not as good a roster around Trey Lance next year because you have a couple guys who you're developing in spots. You're starting to play younger guys instead of veterans playing across the board. Lance goes through some growing pains. I think it would be an excessive amount of pressure on Lance. It would be really interesting to watch how it plays out because the way they would handle it would be really franchise. It would basically alter either their franchise would ascend or would descend if they handle it correctly. It's the Niners are going to be contenders for a long time. If they don't handle it correctly, it could get bad. But I think I keeping him in 2022 and going to 2023, I think just makes Trey Lance's job much more difficult. And here's why. I think what doesn't get talked about enough. By 2023, Trent Williams' contract will be quarterback money. By 2023, Nick Bosa's contract will be quarterback money. By 2023, Eric Armstead's contract will be $20+ million. By 2023, Deebo Samuel's contract will be massive. By 2023, George Kittle's contract is massive. By 2023, Fred Warner's above $20+ million. So you have those large contracts. Trent Williams will be like 34, 35. You don't really have first round picks. I think it would put Trey Lance in a really, really difficult spot to step in if you wait till 2023 to start him for the first time.
Would there be any pros to having him enter next season as the backup? Like, Harbaugh had Colin Kaepernick enter his second year as the backup. And of course, there was not the same level of investment, but Is there any pro you can point to?
I have no clue, right?
Yeah.
I've always said this. Like everybody, I've said I would like to see Trey Lance start.
Yeah.
I've also said I have no clue whether starting or sitting makes a quarterback better because if you go through the sample size of the league, guys who have started, there's been some successes, some not so successful. Guys who've sat, there's some successes, some not successful. So I
Yeah.
don't know that. But all I know is that it would be bizarre for a guy to not play football for 3 years when he has only 600 passes since high school.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess we hit it. Seems like it would be kind of weird to not play him next year, but it could happen. We'll see what happens. I'm kind of rooting for it.
Let me
Just for
ask you
chaos.
this. Let me
What?
ask you this. If the Packers win the Super Bowl this year, do you think they trade Jordan Love?
Interesting question. That's what the Patriots did, right? They were trying to replace Tom Brady. They won the Super Bowl. They got rid of Jimmy G. Maybe.
Yeah. I mean,
But they have a
Jimmy G
little more
doesn't
time.
compare to Aaron Rodgers
Yeah.
or Tom Brady, no matter what the EPA chart tells you. He does not compare to those two guys. He's nowhere near their level. But if they kept him in 2022 and they once again made it to, the divisional round of the playoffs, then when do you ever move off of him? Then you would have to, the way you would have to recoup assets, because now you've basically wasted 2 years of maximizing your team around Jimmy Garoppolo because you gave up assets for Trey Lance.
Yeah.
And then now you've already decided, well, we're winning with Jimmy Garoppolo, which means then you would have to try to recoup assets somehow so that in 2023 you could build the best team possible.
No, that's the point here. Like, I understand kind of playing this dance for 1 year, but at a certain point, you got to give one guy the best chance to win a Super Bowl.
Right.
And having them both on the team in a salary cap era, this isn't 1986, 1987 like it was with Steve Young and Joe Montana. There's an effect. And where's the effect? Look at special teams. Look at the secondary.
Yes, and there was no salary cap. I want to reiterate that. The Niners won their first 4 Super Bowls essentially in a non-salary cap era. So you can keep
sport
Steve
now.
Young
It's a
and
different
Joe
game.
Montana.
Yeah.
And of course, Steve Young thinks sitting was useless for him. I saw it's funny because I never thought Niners fans would say something disrespectful about Steve Young. He goes and says that, oh, Steve Young's just salty. He was never Joe. He was not good. Blah blah.
Fans
blah.
try to act
He
like
never
Steve
won the
sat
big
because he wasn't
one.
ready. He sat because he wasn't as good as the greatest quarterback of all time. That's the reason. That's the reason. Anyway, let's take some questions. Coincidence we start to win once McFloppy is out?
No.
Probably a coincidence.
So Tom Compton, shout out to him. He's been incredible in the run game.
Terrible in the pass game. But he has, I mean, the Niners actually have, I think, improved in the run game since Tom Compton has gotten in there. He's making himself some money. Tom always gets the last laugh. Is Kittle back to being the best tight end in the NFL? I think he's finally the best tight end in the NFL. Because I always gave it to Kelsey, but now Kittle scoring touchdowns like a.
It was always him and Kelsey,
Yeah.
but it leads me to believe that I don't know what he was playing through in 19 and 20, because I feel like this year we're seeing the explosiveness that we saw in 2018 from George Kittle, where any pass you feel like he can take it the entire distance the way he would in 2018. So, yeah.
Yeah. Luis says, time for Granta Claus to bring that Blue Yeti mic to Vish on Christmas. Hope this helps. Yeah. Vish, after the show, let me know your address. I need to send that. I'm trying to be like a franchise quarterback. I'm trying to send all my offensive linemen. So I'm going to send all my guys Blue Yetis for Christmas. It's going to be a little late because it's the 20th, but I'm going to send you that blue. I swear to God. So afterwards,
I appreciate it. That's really nice.
It's basically hella people funding it that aren't even me anyway. But no, I'm trying to take care of my guys.
Oh, I really appreciate it. Thank you.
For sure. Seems like the Titans have lost all of their offensive weapons with Julio going down with a hammy. Do you think the defense can take advantage?
Yeah. So one thing on this topic, AJ Brown during our show was actually activated.
Oh, okay. So it'll be a game. It'll be a game
from IR. But there's no that doesn't mean he's going to play Thursday. It just means his practice window has been opened. He might practice this week and then play next week. But yeah, this defense is going to take advantage. This defense is really, really good. A certain someone who took shots at me was calling this defense a liability for 4 or 5 straight weeks.
Oh, because they're making Jimmy look bad, right? Right.
They were never a liability.
No. Johnny says, Debo, it ain't safe on the block, not even for the cops. Debo, it's so cool that one of the best players in the NFL is named Debo. I love that.
I still think he should be called Craig. Craig beat up Debo in the movie.
We got to talk. You got to talk to Tyshawn about that.
Yeah.
Tyshawn, Raekwon. Is it Raekwon? Is that his middle name?
I don't know what it is. But Craig, Ice Cube's character ends up beating up big old bully Debo. So
he hit him with a brick though. Is that against the rules? I think it's okay. He did hit him with a brick though. I guess you got to do what you got to do.
Knock out a mouth guard with a shoulder. That shoulder should be a good.
Ryan, I think maybe the wind under Robert Wings, and Ryan is doing a hell of a job. What he had, that Ryan was the wind beneath Robert Wing. Hey, he had him the whole time, right? Well, all the times he was successful.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think Saleh was good in his own right. I just think he made the mistake of thinking that everybody with inexperience can start and do a good job with the Jets. They don't have an experienced member there.
Also, Saleh was 1 year late on the too high coverage craze that would have won the Niners the Super Bowl. I mean, because look, it was a full team collapse in the fourth quarter. It wasn't just offense. It wasn't just Kyle. It wasn't just Jimmy. It was the defense too, and it was Saleh. I mean, he was very committed to that, and no one would do that. No one would do that anymore, right?
He wouldn't do it anymore.
He wouldn't do it anymore. Yeah, a lot has changed. This team be contenders with Verrett and Mostert. Might be contenders without him.
Yeah, and with Verrett, this is the best defense in the NFL, in my opinion.
You think they re-sign Verrett?
I think they'll re-sign Verrett.
I think they will.
Rank order. I wouldn't. There's nobody else that'll sign him.
He's part of the family, man. If he's going to Cabo, he's coming back. Rank order teams the Niners want to face in the playoffs. Okay, let's do that right now. That is definitely one of the topics. The possible first round matchups. You don't have to rank them. We can rank them at the end. Just go through the 4 division winners and how you see those matchups playing out.
Yeah, so I mean, if we're ranking teams in general, they obviously want to see the Rams. It's like Saints, Bucks, Niners, Rams. It's just they got those teams. But of the 4 division winners, I think Green Bay is still the toughest team. I know the Niners have had Green Bay's number. Niners have not played Green Bay in Lambeau since 2018. Green Bay under Matt LaFleur has not been a good team traveling West Coast and playing on the West Coast. I think that has something to do with the fact that the Niners have had some lopsided results. Green Bay beat the Niners this year. Green Bay's defense is the best that it's been all under Matt LaFleur and Aaron Rodgers. Kenny Clark is really, really good. He's the best nose tackle in the NFL, in my opinion. Joe Barry has made a big difference for their defensive court. Go ahead.
I just said UCLA. Sorry, Kenny Clark.
UCLA.
UCLA.
Joe Barry's made a big difference. So to me, Green Bay is the best team in the NFL. They're the toughest team to play. I think they have gone through quite a bit of actually attrition this season because they've lost a lot of really good players and they just continue to win. And Rodgers is playing at a level.
And they're fourth string left tackle, third string.
Yeah. Aaron Rodgers to me is the perfect. It's unbelievable. Yeah, but I'd pick Aaron Rodgers. Whenever I end up going through the season, Aaron Rodgers ends up being the MVP to me every year. Like he's one of one. I know a lot of people hate him because of his personality, and I understand that. I mean, I feel some type of way about his personality too, but as a player, he's just, oh my God, he's so good.
So you say Green Bay at the top, that's a tough matchup for a lot of reasons. Although the Niners can feel like they have a puncher's chance. They've always, with the exception of that weird COVID game last year, they've always at least either destroyed the Packers or played them tough.
This is going to shock people. I don't like their matchup against Dallas.
Yeah, I could see that. Why?
I think Dallas would be the second team I don't want to play as presently constructed with Tampa Bay's injuries.
Yeah.
Dallas's offense, it's not been as good the last few games, but they're a juggernaut when they want to get going. They got those 3 receivers, and when those 3 receivers, as they get healthier through the end of the season, Dak's really, really good. Yeah. They can run the football. They can do it all.
Yeah.
And I understand Dallas's defense. You can get some big plays on them. I don't like defenses when you have that good a pass rush with Parsons and, DeMarcus Lawrence and Randy Gregory. Oof. And you're that you take advantage of your opportunities that well. I don't like Dallas's defense as also a
Jimmy better not throw anywhere near Diggs.
Yeah.
Stay away.
And I think they can really take advantage of this offensive line too. I think they can push around a couple guys in this offensive line. I don't like Arizona. I like Arizona actually better than I did at the beginning of the season. I know Arizona has played this Niners team really well, but I also think Arizona's kind of hit the wall.
Yeah. What is going on? I haven't really been watching them closely. What the hell?
Just attrition. It's just attrition.
Yeah. They had a lot of injury-prone players who have gotten hurt, right?
Yeah.
Bosa,
That's all I think it is,
Hopkins.
and I think the Niners are kind of peaking,
Not
and
Bosa.
Arizona kind of already peaked and
Yep.
is coming back and is plateauing. And I
Agreed.
think so. I think that's a good matchup. And then Tampa Bay. I mean, Tampa Bay, when fully healthy, is the toughest matchup of all these teams. But Tampa Bay is nowhere near healthy.
Nope. Absolutely not. I had nothing to. So it seems to me that. Well, how would you rank them?
Yeah, so it would be Green Bay, Dallas, Arizona, Tampa Bay.
Tampa Bay is what you want. That is crazy. That is crazy.
Constructed. If Tampa Bay gets healthy, then Tampa Bay automatically goes to the top of that list.
Of course.
But Tampa Bay is just injured across the board right now.
Yeah. And Brady hasn't won 2 in a row since I was in high school.
Yeah.
I don't know what that's about. Steven says, what up, guys? Vish, you obviously catch a lot that we average fans miss. How do you watch and what do you look for when watching games? Peace. Good question. How do you watch and what do you look for?
I usually just watch the game. That's it. I when I started doing this, I spent time learning a lot more. Like I watched a lot of coaching clinics and I've tried learning as much as possible so that I can maybe have a slightly more informed opinion.
Good as a sponge if you haven't
when
noticed.
I do it. But yeah, I also, I mean, I guess I'm lucky that I have pretty good retention. So if I see something the first time, I kind of memorize it.
This kid's ability to take in and remember information is unparalleled, unreal. Anyway, that's why he's my secret weapon. Vish. Dude, Vish, what is the answer to the question? Thank you, Vish. Andrew says, Grant, you said
missed that question to Armstead.
Oh, my bad. Sorry, I'm getting.
Yeah, he had like a personal story. Yeah.
Voice ad agency says when re-signing Armstead, I believe his wife was just starting her own therapy practice. I think the Niners knew he would re-sign for less than Buck. Oh, he's so rooted in Northern Cal. He's a very much a Northern California guy like me. I mean, Sacramento means a lot to him. So yeah, Buckner is from Hawaii. I mean, he can go anywhere. Yeah, I can see that.
Mm-hmm.
It's tough for the Niners to really get people to come to Northern California because if you're not from here, I mean, I wonder what Vish would say. Probably kind of expensive.
No, I didn't like it personally. I thought I didn't like the weather at all. And I thought the price of housing was excessive.
Very excessive. So it's tough to get people who don't have who aren't from here to want to be here. But if you grew up in Sacramento or Oakland or you want to be here, Jason Verrett from up here, all that. Good call. Grant, you said it yesterday. We need the cornerback. Dude, don't talk about our weather, by the way. Freaking Chicago. Wow. It was cold, and it was early November.
Look, at least Chicago, when it says it's going to be cold, it's cold. Okay, when it says it's going to be warm, it's warm. I did not like the fact that if I walked 10 minutes, it would go from, being so hot to so cold.
Whatever, man. What's going to happen is Vish is going to be a millionaire by 30, and he's going to have a penthouse in San Francisco, and he's going to take it all back. Andrew says, Grant, you said it yesterday. We need the cornerback to get the deep threat without penalties. If the front four cannot get there quick enough, how do we stop it? Goal is to be Super Bowl champs.
That's the big thing, right? Their secondary, it's really they get ragged basically every single game, and it's because their corners aren't names or whatever. Around the league, corners are getting dusted every week. Even the guys that are names do get had at times. I mean, the Niners obviously haven't afforded maybe the proper investment into the corner position. They have bargain shopped up quite a bit, but the point is they fixed the penalty issue, right? Like the penalty issue was massive, starting with week 2 against the Eagles, all the way up to the Colts game. It was just you throw anything near the Niners corners down the field, and it's an automatic 15 plus 20 plus 30 plus yard pass interference penalty. They've kind of fixed that.
Well, part of what's fixed it is the pass rush is amped up. Arden Key has emerged. One thing I don't get though is this front seven is playing really, 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 really well right now. And while the corners aren't liabilities, they should be picking off passes. In 2019, they were feasting off of this, right? And it's come on, you'd like to see that. And maybe when Mosley comes back, but as good as Mosley is, that hasn't been a big part of his game yet.
No, that hasn't been a big part. I mean, Tart and Ward are really, really good players. Intercepting passes is just something. Oftentimes they aren't put in situations to.
It was something Sherman was good at, despite the fact that he wasn't particularly good in coverage. It was who can explain it? Yeah,
it's a natural. I think flair. I'm sure Tart probably looks at the Kyle Pitts playing, he feels like, man, I could take that back for 100, but he just broke it up. But yeah, I think that I agree with that. And I think Sherman was kind of the special of that because he knew the pass rush would get home. And once he would recognize a concept, ooh, it was over.
Yeah, it was great. Ninerbot says he's a great compliment for a 4-man pass rush. Ninerbot says trade Jimmy Garoppolo in the locker room will crumble. Jimmy Garoppolo is the only leader on this team, and the players love him. Can't trust a 21-year-old quarterback that doesn't play. Man, there's going to be such a long list of reasons like this to make the wrong decision next year.
It's impossible to quantify these reasons, but I'm pretty sure that one of Trey Lance's real positive traits, everybody was remarking on what a leader he is and all of that before the draft. So
standout company says Grant, is that a Breitling Super Ocean? No, this is a Tissot. Tissot, I got it at Nordstrom with my wife. She picked it out. So thanks for noticing. Okay. Spreadsheet posted some videos of Lance throwing before the game. Didn't see a whole lot of wobble. Have you noticed this from him? I've filmed him too before the game. I was very far away, but yeah, that wobble. And people are gonna be watching that wobble closely.
He's really embracing your format, Grant.
You think? He likes it?
Yeah, just a little bit.
Just a little bit. How's the right side of the O-line playing in your view?
When they're able to be balanced and they're able to run the ball, the right side of the O-line can play really well. I think, and
it's an asset in the run game. It's an asset.
Yeah, I think it's not just a quarterback issue. It's also a play caller issue. Like Kyle Shanahan also has to protect them. And I think looking back to the Seattle game, the safety, a lot of people said Garoppolo could release the ball. I thought there was no way he could release the ball. I actually thought that was on Shanahan. Called 3-step drop out of the shotgun. Shotgun already puts your quarterback on the goal line.
Right.
You call a 3-step drop out of the shotgun. Like, I don't usually get on play calling, but that logic made no sense to me to have him throw out of the end zone because the reality of the situation is you had a Travis Benjamin fumble at the time. Then you had a fluke. Gerald Everett kicked the ball to K'Wan Williams. You're still leading in the game on the road. 2 fluky plays that happened. To me, that's just run, punt the ball. They haven't done anything against your defense to that point. Punt the ball, play defense, and live to spend another drive. I thought calling a pass play and especially putting your quarterback in a shotgun and then calling a 3-step drop was just poor game management from Shanahan at that point. I think that's why that safety occurred.
I feel like anytime they're in a situation where it's end of the game, like in Seattle, third, fourth and goal, when you know you're going to pass, or whatever, third and long, Tom Compton's going to get you beat. And what I thought was interesting was it was nitpicky. I know Rich, Javi, a bunch of people I love them, disagree with me on this. I said, well, those last 2 throws went over Tom Compton's head, and you're asking for him to basically have an impact on that play. I couldn't help but notice that the next week with the game on the line, it was first down, but they got Jimmy as far the hell away from that side of the line as possible, rolled him left, boom, boom. Those guys didn't ruin the play. It's all, I mean, as simple as that. So yeah, there are ways that you can mitigate their negative impact and accentuate their positive impact for sure. My voice went up really high right there. Sorry. How smart will Kyle look if Trey is ready to run the offense, but Kyle is waiting to unleash him in the playoffs? He did say he's been dude, if the Niners do that, I wouldn't be mad, but
yeah, that'd be weird. That'd be weird.
Yeah, that happens in Hollywood. Real quick, they're making a Kurt Warner movie. He's supposed to be 29 in the movie. He's 40 and he looks 40. The actor couldn't have gotten someone.
I saw that.
I mean,
I wasn't a big fan of the Kevin James portrayal idea for Sean Payton either.
Yeah, that's terrible.
Sean Payton's he's supposed to be like a really intense, serious guy, right? And then you have the goofiest guy in Hollywood playing him.
Weird. Team Master 82 says, who are the main players we need to re-sign after this season? Love the content, and Jimmy G deserves some respect.
Yeah, I just said him. Tart, DJ Jones, K'Wan Williams.
Those 3. Anyone else you can think off the top? Those are 3 big ones. Arden Key, baby. Tony Vang says, is the reason why Warner doesn't look as good like he should is because Aziz is flying everywhere and making plays because he looked good on Sunday. I think someone else earlier said, did Warner have his best game of the year also? I missed that one. Sorry.
Yeah, I think he did, but I think he's been playing really well, especially in coverage the last few games. A lot of the reason the Niners pass defense is so good is because of how special Fred Warner is. I don't think he's looked as good. I think that if you go back and watch it on film, Fred Warner, especially since John Lynch said, he hasn't been playing at that level, he's been playing pretty unbelievable. Um, it just so happens that it's the broadcast view doesn't always catch, some of the special things that he's doing because at the end of the day, Aziz Al-Shaair is just a bigger hitter than
Yeah,
Fred Warner.
yeah.
And no
Hops off
matter
the
what, you're
screen.
always gonna win. And he's maybe even faster than Fred Warner, honestly.
I
So
think
you
so.
might feel him a little bit more if you're just watching the broadcast. But it's a little bit Levante David, Devin White, where Levante David is the better, more consistent. He's the star
Right.
player. Devin White's really, really good, but
Good distinction. Andrew, thank you. Michael says Jimmy just wins. You can't deny it, Grant. I love these comments. I get these in Twitter too. Like why are you trying to start a fight with me, man? I wasn't trying to deny it. Although 11-9
it's
is the
almost as if
championship game.
it's funny to me because like when Jimmy wins, I'm a Niners fan, so I'm ecstatic,
Yeah,
right? If he wins, I don't care. I don't discriminate on who's winning. I just want the
yeah,
Niners to win. But
right.
it's funny to me, it's not just Jimmy. It's not just that the Niners got to win. It's also that Grant has to acknowledge that he was wrong. He was not. He should have said it from the
Yeah,
beginning. And you need like your compliments are required for this win to taste good.
exactly. That is a weird phenomenon that all of a sudden Niner fans, part of their satisfaction of winning is hearing me give the opinion they want me to say something. Yeah. Jimmy G versus Brady playoffs. Let's make it happen. Tampa's doing their best. If Jimmy wins the ship, too late for gold jacket. Love you, man. Love you. Vish, I understand your worries about Dallas, but would you trust McCarthy to not screw it up? That's
Oh,
a
that's
good
a
question.
great point. That's a
I don't really
great
trust
point.
McCarthy
I
at
didn't
all.
even consider that. That's a great point.
It ain't nothing but Jimmy G. It ain't nothing Jimmy G did. Cohn let you and some others tell it, but in actuality, he's our quarterback, and I'm behind till the end. Niners for life. For life. Look, if anyone's willing to write for life, I'm down. I cannot. I mean, for life. That's
For
a
life.
long time. So I feel that. Although it's probably going to be about 2 more months, month and a half, month and some change. Are you giving us 2-hour special because of his absence? I know. I'm Vish is over here being like, God, dude, it's
No,
okay.
I
Can we wrap
actually,
it up?
but yeah, I'm also on break, and
Yeah.
because I already got a job, I don't really have anything to do in break, so this is kind of a time occupant, especially because my family is, as I mentioned earlier, we have some things going on. Part of the reason I haven't shaved or anything, so it's
Right.
nice to get a little relief.
Right.
I
Well, we're
wouldn't even say
wrapping it up now.
relief. It's just
Sacramento Mike says I'm watching Mullins versus Raiders right now. Who you got? Mullins for life. For life. Are they playing right now?
yeah. They started
Oh,
at
all right, then let's
50
wrap it
minutes
up.
ago.
Who do we put back for special teams that doesn't muff the ball? Debo!
So see, the issue is Travis Benjamin is a historically good punt returner. He's never been a kick returner. He fumbled on the kick return against Seattle, so they're not going to ever put him back as a punt returner. And Ayuk's been pretty sure-handed as a punt returner, despite some bizarre decisions at times. So yeah, they have a revolving returning door
They do.
problem.
It's a conundrum. When you watch the film, you will see that Warner is the one that hurt Bosa's head. I didn't see it like that from the press box, but I will watch the film. I'll check it out. Thank you, Wesley. Jimmy's new name is Great Job, Jimmy. LOL. DBs have to get more experience. Take it easy on them, Grant. They were right there on a lot of plays. Gage went out hurt too. So for you, Ruby, I will take it easy on them. They were right in
Yeah,
position.
I will say this, being right there is a good thing, but Chris Culver was right there a lot in
So
his
was Kellen.
Niners career. And there's something about being good at the catch point, and Russell Gage is not known. Like Jamar Chase is known to baptize corners, no matter who you are at the catch point. That's not who Russell Gage is known as.
Can I get 3 more quickie topics out of you real quick?
Let's do it.
All right. Brandon Ayuk. It seems like he's sort of establishing himself in a role in this offense, and it seems like it's as a number 3. I mean, Kittle and Debo are 1A and 1B. Is that how you see Ayuk, and how do you think he fills this role? How well?
Yeah, I think he is kind of set in as the third
Yeah.
option. I think a lot of people thought he would be the number one option for
Right.
this offense this
Right.
offseason and stuff. Frankly, I kind of see him best used at this spot because I think he's best when corners aren't overly physical with him and not pressing him. And he's given a little space to operate, which he does get as the X receiver. And he's basically like the third option. So you're not focusing your defense on doubling him. You're not shading him with a linebacker. You're not doing those type of things. I think that's where he's best. I think it's a little bit Chiefs. I mean, Sammy Watkins got hurt, so a lot. So, but I think he is kind of the Sammy Watkins, because I do think Kittle and Debo at this point are in the Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce level. Like, I think having those two guys on the field together is like, oh my God, like that's too good. Like, it's too good. And so I think Ayuk is kind of that. I think he's filled into it nicely. I think he's done an excellent job blocking. I think he's had a really, really strong second half of the season. There's no doubt about it. It might even be better than his rookie season. But honestly, what I've noticed from Ayuk, and people will probably disagree with this, I don't see a guy that's going to be a cinch number one wide receiver in the NFL. I think this is kind of actually his best role, because I don't see that special explosion that you want from a wide receiver, where you just line him up outside and that he can run by any corner at any time. I think he's really smooth, but I don't think he has that first step that even Kittle and Debo have. I think Kittle and Debo do have that really special explosive ability. And a lot of people compared him to Odell Beckham. I don't think he has Odell Beckham's, especially young Odell Beckham. Young Odell Beckham, I don't care that he ran 4.39 or 4.41 at the combine. He was 4.3 all day. He could run by anybody. Just
the first step was crazy too, but also with Ayuk, he doesn't seem like he gets to a real top. Like, his full stride speed doesn't seem that fast either. He's not slow, but for a wide receiver, I mean, he's not exactly a deep threat. He's not just going to run a fade by you. He's going to run a nice corner post.
And I mean, okay, this is again visual. Maybe the metrics say it different, like their actual splits and stuff. But when I saw them in person, maybe Ayuk and Debo would be the same speed if they ran 50 yards. 0 to 20 yards, Debo is faster. Yeah. Debo looks faster.
Yeah. Agree.
And it's not that Ayuk looks slow. It was just that Debo's speed to me was shocking when I was able to see him in person. When you see it on film and stuff, he's fast. He looked like the fastest player on the field at times when you see him in person. Like on a field where Elijah Mitchell's on the field. And Debo looked like the one-of-one guy.
I agree with that. He's shocking at speed. My thing with Ayuk is that I'm not sure. I think he's a great third option, but I'm not sure that he's necessarily going to be someone the Niners give a second contract to, depending on what
there's no way of saying that.
What the price tag is. But first round pick.
I mean, great.
He's a good value now, but I don't know how long he'll be on the team. Yeah, I don't know.
He's 20 games into his career. We'll see.
Yeah, that's true. That's true for sure.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the running back, dude. Jeff Wilson Jr. missed the first chunk of the season. They struggled without him. He struggled when he came back. The last 2 games, I thought he's been really good. How important is he to this offense, and how good is he in this running back pecking order?
Yeah, I think he's very important, and I think so him and Mitchell, I find a little bit different. I haven't seen the film yet, so I don't know. Like, Mitchell's obviously been very good for a rookie. I think sometimes his usage has been too much, and I think that's why his body has been a little bit breaking down. But I think Mitchell, sometimes when he runs in this offense, the one thing that's missing that both Wilson and Mostert have is they have an ease in terms of finding the hole where they don't get touched. And maybe it was Atlanta's defense and Mitchell would have looked the exact same way, but they don't get touched for the first 6 yards they carry the ball. It's like they know exactly where they're going. Well, Mitchell will get 6 yards, but he got hit at 2 yards, and he's just a real tough ball carrier, and he'll grind out the other 4 yards and get you 6 yards. And I think that Jeff Wilson should be the starting running back. And I think him and Mitchell, I mean, it doesn't matter who's the starting running back, honestly, but I do think him and Mitchell should be splitting carries. I don't think we should see games where Mitchell's getting 21 carries and he gets 2.
And to me, that's the biggest benefit of Jeff Wilson Jr. Whoever you think is better, it doesn't really matter. Whoever starts, it's undeniable that Elijah Mitchell was being overworked. And I don't think he will anymore. So now you have 2 running backs that I think 6 one, half dozen the other. You lose nothing by taking one, replacing out of the game and replacing him. I mean, now you really can hand off 30 times. And obviously, you're at your best when the ball's in the hands of your 3 playmakers, but you're a run first team, and those are really solid running backs.
Really solid.
Yeah.
Really solid. Wilson's good. He's a good running back.
I'm just trying to get their yards per carry real quick. Mitchell's at 4.6. Wilson's at 3.8. Yeah, but he struggled early on. He's coming back.
Yeah.
He's coming back.
He looked probably the best in terms of just his movement ability. Like, I know he had a big game, but just in terms of how explosive he looked yesterday was definitely the best of the games he's been back.
It's the last topic I want. It's not a downer. It's just it's a little sobering. So Nick Bosa's great. He's answered every question. He gets hurt. He comes back. He's better. Is he gonna be this when the Niners extend his contract this offseason? Are they going to make him the highest paid defensive lineman of all time? And what's that going to entail? And how do they make this work?
I think they have to, right?
Right? Yeah.
Yes. Like Bosa, when he's been on the field, has been a top 3 edge rusher, top 4 edge rusher in the NFL. He's been right there with Garrett and his brother. And
I think he's better than Joey.
You think he's better than Joey? Okay.
He's better than Joey. I've seen Joey. He's more powerful.
He's got more explosion than Joey.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yep. But Joey, I think maybe he's got a couple more moves. Like Joey has a mean spin move that Nick Bosa doesn't have yet. But
that's true.
They're both fantastic. And Joey, I think, is at what, 28, 29 million right now? 27?
On average.
Yeah, he's at 27. Like Garrett's at 25, I think.
Yeah.
So Nick Bosa is going to be probably 28, 29. I don't see how you can't pay him that. The only real question you can ask about him, and somebody brought up TJ Watt. Yeah, it's Watt, Garrett, Micah Parsons when he plays as edge rusher, Joey Bosa, Nick Bosa, Chandler Jones. Those are like Khalil Mack. Those are the elite of the elite names. Yeah, I don't see how you don't just pay him what he wants. The only question really with him is the injury, but he's so good when he plays, and now he's going to complete, knock on wood, he's going to give you 2 full seasons of just elite production in 3 years. He's got to just be Nick Bosa. I mean, again, this is what we thought the Buckner deal was going to be. We thought the Kittle deal was going to be that. It kind of ended up being this. Trent Williams deal, we thought it should have been this. And then Trent Williams himself said that, it came down to the last minute. But it really should be Nick Bosa says what he wants. The Niners oblige. They shake hands and they move on. That's how Bosa's that player.
I'm with you. But I just don't think that the Niners can be paying Bosa, Trent Williams, and Jimmy Garoppolo top dollar at the same time.
No, I don't think they can.
This is another reason why Jimmy's got
this is what I was talking
about.
Yeah. Talking about, and the economics of it, if you wait till 2023, especially because then you're not regaining any assets for what you lost with Trey Lance, then you're literally you're giving yourself a less chance at having a better football team for the last 2 years when this team, maybe Garoppolo does give you the better chance to win a Super Bowl. Then you should trade Trey Lance and try to get some assets so that you can give Garoppolo really the best shot to win.
One way or another, make up your mind.
Lance, right? Yeah, right.
Make up your freaking mind. Absolutely.
If you're gonna, it's again, if you're gonna have your cake and eat it too, you're always gonna be missing, some of the assets you could have spent to try and make sure this team is the best it could possibly be to win a Super Bowl.
Absolutely, which is rough because it seems like if they had just maximized their cap space this year, they would be the one dominant team in the league because it's wide open. They really could be that team.
But then you also understand their thinking because they tried to do it the year before and things went.
Didn't work out.
I kind of do understand it, but I think if I understand it this year, I'm not going to understand it next year. You have to make a decision.
As it stands, Niners would play the Bucs in the first round. What do you think the Niners' chances are? Thoughts? I think if they were playing this Sunday in Tampa, the Niners would be favored on the road.
Yeah.
Right. So we'll have to see.
No, I don't know if they would be favored. The Bucs still have Tom Brady, who's playing lights out against every other team other than the Saints.
It might be close though, man. Without those, without those weapons.
Hey, with all these injuries, Niners would have a great shot.
0 to 5 yards fastest is Bosa. LOL. Yeah, he's good. He's very explosive. Grant, you got to stay at the Niners hotel again for the Tennessee game. We need more awkward elevator interactions. Make it a whole series. LOL. That was a total. I've done it twice. Costa Mesa here. It's a coincidence. I have no idea.
Stay, Marriott?
It was the Westin both times, and I'm not staying at the Westin this time. And I know they don't stay at the Westin every time. I don't want people to know where they're staying. Hopefully, but I don't think. I probably won't happen. Anyway, I'll try.
I thought I saw the K1 Williams story on Twitter, and I thought it was hilarious that he
waited. I don't think he snubbed me. I just felt he was like, "Oh, I don't know what he's gonna say. I'm just gonna take the risk." Anyway, Vish.
I also thought it was funny that you were enjoying and partying it up with Trent Sherfield's uncle.
Dude, they have bars open late on that side of the country, which is nice. And I was still on West Coast time, so I wasn't trying to go to bed. And you just see someone wearing a Sherfield jersey. I'm like, well, there's a 99% chance he's related to Trent Sher. Who the hell has a Trent Sherfield jersey? So it was fun. Chop it up. The guy knew. I mean, he's a guy who knows what the hell he's talking about. You know what I mean? It's a fun conversation. It was private between us. Anyway, Vish, it's great to have you back, man. You gave us almost 2 hours. This is the longest Mondays with Vish of all time. We had 1,500 people. We had 1,800 people most of the time. Baller. Thank you. But don't go anywhere. I got to get your address. Hold on. Everyone, thank you for watching. I'm flying to Tennessee tomorrow. So next time you see me will probably be when I'm there. So see you there. Peace. Is that Music City? They call it Music City?